consultation with them on lands where they can be permanently settled in a decent living condition is critical at this time, and the government must proceed. The matter of lands falls directly under the portfolio of the Prime Minister as Minister of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development. All of the land agencies of government fall under him. So he is in a position to expedite a solution to this crisis, and I'm calling on him to do so. Identify an appropriate location and make the necessary investments so that the people can be restored. That's the first issue. The second issue is the other households who are in jeopardy because the demolition was not complete yesterday, and they have expressed an intention to return to complete it. Now, while the Cooper's Pen property has sections of it with formal titled houses, there's another section which has very well established homes, concrete structures, properly built, but are in jeopardy because they don't have title for that. The question is, what is going to happen to them? And I would call on the government immediately to begin a process of negotiation on their behalf to try and find a solution. The fact of the matter is that the last PNP administration did attempt to create a community under the Housing Act for these people. It was gazetted by the Minister of Housing. However, it was contested by the owner, and the matter went to court, and in the Court of Appeal, the matter ended, and the community didn't get any form of protection from the court at that time. So it remains to the government to find a solution for them, and I'm calling on them to do so. And time is of the essence, because as we've seen, the methods being used by this particular whoever's behind this arrangement are extreme. There's an allegation that the police were deployed in the wee hours of the morning. The young men were arrested and detained in jail in Falmouth until the afternoon, and during that period when they were away from the community, the demolition, supported by and protected by the security forces, took place. And as we know, elderly people have lost their homes, baby mothers, children who are going to school, etc., are all now in a very vulnerable condition. So the third point I want to make is a policy issue, and it relates to how private rights, as protected by the court, are enforced against vulnerable communities. There needs to be a mechanism to ensure that this sort of thing doesn't happen. We're seeing it too often, both on public land. There was Clifton, there was an attempt in Pleasant Hill, in the Wydasville area, in, I believe, is it Albion in St. Thomas? Homes were also demolished, and here at Cooper's Pen. So both on the public and private sector side, where you're going to be demolishing homes of people where they're vulnerable, children, elderly, women, etc. It cannot just be that the law takes its course in a totally unregulated way without taking into account and balancing the needs, the rights, the constitution and otherwise of the citizens who are impacted. I believe there needs to be an inquiry into this process of how land rights are enforced in this country against residents who have been long-standing on the property. As we know, private property in Jamaica, there's a 12-year limitation period, where if you're in adverse possession for over 12 years, you defeat the title of the prior owner. But we have instances where people may have been living for much longer than that on property and are still not having their rights protected because they are not in a position to do so themselves. These are persons who lack the means to utilize the legal system because they don't have the means to do so. So there needs to be a proper inquiry into this with a view to coming up with a policy that balances the rights of our citizens, protects private property rights, but also protects the rights of the people who are vulnerable and who the state is there to protect. So those are the 3 points I want to make this morning, and I will hand over to my colleague. Isaac Buchanan is here from a human rights perspective.
There you go. We have it from our opposition leader visited the area, expressing his concerns of the manner in which the eviction was handled. I do believe that it was really, really bad. You know, in my
I want to respond, Judge.
And allow me to judge from a human rights
and I'm going to be just a moment. And I'm going to be courageous when I respond, right?
You said that again?
You have cautioned me not to make the matter political. This is what I'm going to say. Everyone know which party I support politically. And what the party leader, just mere fact I say party leader, what the party leader have said, the only thing I can agree with him is that the method of, if the bailiff operated outside of what the law provides, council has given advice that for any wrong that was done, you guys need to avail yourself to legal remedies in getting those matters addressed. That's a separate issue. But to come and to say that this government must do certain things because the PNP administration, to which is my party, tried to meet just a moment, respectfully, try to make the residents there into a community in the past. That was part of the problem that I mentioned in the historical oversight. It was wrong for my party to do that. And I'm going to be bold and courageous to say that it was wrong. Because what my party did, and I don't know who gave them that, why they chose that part, is directly an assault on the separation of powers. The judiciary made a decision, affirm a company's private interest in a land. And the administration of that time, in a vulgar manner, inequitous manner, meaning unfair manner, tried to use force compulsory acquisition to get the land. It is illegal, it is vulgar, and I spit on it. Yes? What needs to be done, what ought to have been done at that time, was for proper housing solution to be provided, and this matter has been going on for 20 years. This do we look on the amount of monies spent by these investors to protect their interests? We're not going to play any politics with this thing. It is out of order, and it shouldn't have.
If I may add to it. No, I saw in the comments where I should somebody's advising that I take counsel from Mark Golding, who is, I must admit, my senior. He's a senior counsel and very experienced. But what I will say to you is that I have shied away from political comments. But what I will put forward is that the judge, in her own language, chided the efforts of the politicians, chided the efforts of the government of the day. Justice McIntosh said the application was void of sincerity. She said it was an abuse of the process. It was an attempt to pervert the course of justice and abuse of the process of the court. She also went on to mention that the defendants seem to have been misled by politicians into squatting on private property. Those are not my words. So while I have been shy to say certain things because I am not politically motivated, I am just here hoping that I can pass on information that could assist persons who are in this position, who are thinking about acquiring property that way, or saying to them, listen, educate yourself before you make a move. But if you want me to tell you, you can read the judgment and see that the court itself found that the efforts by the government were just very iniquitous, as Chevelle has said, and those were words used in the judgment. So while learned counsel might have said, oh, there's nothing that, if we now as a government go back to the court, what are they going to say? They're going to have more encouraging words, they're going to say the same thing again because it lacked any substance. The application lacked any substance, and it was just being used to prevent the landowners from getting the judgment that they were given. So it was just to circumvent the court's order. That is my submission, sir.
Thank you very much, Eagle Girl. Now we
When you can allow me, Judge.
One second,
One second. No one should be speaking over each other, and until her mic is closed, we go to the next person. And if anyone decide not to follow the rules, they will be dropped.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mitchell. We now have Black Voice. I think she wants to contribute to our discussion this evening. Black Voice, you may go ahead.
I was here first.
Oh, sorry. Winner, I must say to the viewers, Winner is one of my also one of my special guests this evening. He has expressed that he was not able to come, but here he is to share with us. You know, just go ahead now, Winner.
Good afternoon, Judge Sims and the rest of the panel. You know, it's quite unfortunate that we have poor Jamaicans being caught in a lie, in a deception carried out by an administration that tried to jerry-rig a constituency in favor of themselves, encouraging vulnerable people to capture legal owners' property. Right? The Constitution, Section 5 of the Constitution protects one's property from being acquired by government, right? Under duress, actually. There's no bucketive in the Constitution to say that the government can compulsory acquire your property in order to give it to somebody or a community who is squatting illegally. So persons are saying carrying it to the Privy Council. It will fail. 7 judges looked at the current matter and says, listen, it was unfair, it was wicked and evil against the rightful landowner, right? And then the PNP government went behind the back of the Supreme Court to put a caveat on the man's title. It was wrong. At the time, the administration also had a housing minister who could have acted in the best interest of the people by identifying crown lands, right? And say, hey, we're going to move you here. We're going to build these houses for you. But no, they were more interested in keeping the numbers in North Trelawney in order to make sure that they can muster up in a vote to gain power. It was wrong. It was awful. And to see people who have invested wrongly because they were promised that, listen, this property is going to be yours. We are going to give it to you. And at the time, they knew they had no power to do so. It's terrible.
Question to you, Winner. They had done the exercise of the demolition, and the government now issued to them tents to erect on the said property.
Yes.
How do you rationalize that kind of move?
So their homes were destroyed. It's not like government have a pre-prepared location to just go put them. We're gonna put them at the arena. Where we're gonna put them. Now the member of parliament.
Where can they put them now? Because the arena
I don't know. Where we're gonna put them. We're gonna house them in a church. We're gonna house them in a school.
The Trelawney Stadium is there, and their shelter is there.
That is an option. That is an option. But the need of the people at the moment was immediate.
Yes, right? But by the winner, just a minute. They are now clearing that property.
So they are preparing a property now. But I'm saying that at the moment when they brought the tents, the needs of the people was immediate, right? And according to Tova, she would have had dialogue with the owners of the property to say, hey, 2 weeks, they're able to stay here for 2 weeks and no longer than that.
Understood.
More houses were scheduled to be demolished. On that day, the member of parliament also acted in the interest of her constituents by asking for more time. which they got 2 weeks. So all the other persons who are there, they have enough time to remove their documents and their furnitures and to just leave that house standing. If I was them, I would remove door, windows, bathroom, sinks, everything, and leave the concrete bare if they could. It's unfortunate, but they were duped by politicians.
But Judge, you understand that poor people have to pay for it?
Chevel, just a minute. I was unclear to why they would have issued tents for them to live on the same property. So I'm glad that you clear it up, that they were given ample time, 2 weeks to get themselves.
Yeah, but Judge, I hope this get out there. Is we, the poor people, the taxpayer of this country, have to pay for that, you know?
Yes.
When the matter was won in the Court of Appeal, the Court of Appeal said them have to pay, the government has to pay the cost for the appeal and the cost for the court below.
Yes.
So when they're one with them arms house, and I'm speaking as a PNP activist, this need to stop. Both the JLP and the PNP need to stop this. Stop tricking people because you want votes. It need to stop. Do we understand the vulgar attack that happened to this company that pay them money for a piece of land? How would you like to pay for a piece of land and the government tried to steal it from you through the back door? And that's what it is. Steal it from you.
But
you understand? And then the government not paying for it. Is we have to go pay that guy's taxpayer to come out of the consolidated fund. Is we taxpayer have to go pay for the nonsense.
Chavel,
poor people get beaten twice.
Can I say this?
Let's regularize now your emotions.
One at a time. Let's tone it down. We're being too boisterous. We want to make sure persons understand what is happening here. For those who are in the comments, respectfully, this is not about a political party. I'm happy if you're green and I'm happy if you're orange. But the fire of understanding the issue needs to be known by everyone. This is now becoming a national issue. Take the politics out of it with the commentary. Please stop insulting individuals that are on the panel. You will be blocked. Let's be civil.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yes, I'm saying, Judge Sims. It was noted that over 700,000 Jamaicans existed without a formal land title, right? Some are squatters. Well, no, 700,000 are squatting. I think that was in the number. If the government should look at the land bank, which is very important because government need land bank, especially if we need to do major infrastructural development, and to give property to 700,000 squatters, right? Persons who we say that are vulnerable and can't afford to buy property. How is that fair to the middle class, persons of the working class, that a government should get up and give persons who are not working, persons who are not willing property to live? How is that fair to us? They claim it as to be their fundamental right, right, to access land. What about the rest of us? Almost 3 million of us, and you're gonna take up the land bank and give it to 700,000. So what about the rest? Don't we have the same fundamental right?
Important. Let me hear Black Voice. Now, Black Voice, you can come in now. Then we have Silver Box. Black Voice, you have a question?
Black Voice seemed to be away from his phone.
Your Honor, I do want to put something into the discussion. It is very important for persons, if they ever get the opportunity to read these cases. There's over 12 cases. Actually, there's more than 12, but I've deep dive into about 12. And it is important for those who continue to say that Newfoundland Resort Limited, and persons must use limited, because after searching, there are companies that do not have the limited, and it's important for the discussion. In the court documents, if we even want to go back, even after the deal was made by the virtue of an agent representing Mr. Jobson, Newfoundland Resort Limited had put a caveat, which was even questioned into court. And I want to make sure these dates are put into the discussion so that persons don't say this is coming from anybody on this platform. It says, and I quote, Newfoundland Resort Limited, a company incorporated under the laws of Jamaica, with registered office at 58 Duke Street in the parish of Kingston, claim an estate of interest as a purchaser by virtue of option to purchase date the 15th of September 1967, and exercise of option date on the 9th of November 1967, copies of which are attached hetero between Gilbert Jobson and J. Cecile Abraham, acting as agent for Newfoundland Resort Limited, and I quote, and it says emphasize supply. And it goes on to tell us that even before the final purchase, which was made, the acting agent who Mr. Jobson entrust his care of interest was J. Cecile Abraham. So if we're going to look at it, he felt this gentleman was going to do the right things by him. And we say that this company is not let me extract my own misquoted statement. Persons have stated that this company does not exist. It is a fictitious company, but this company has been in existence since the 60s. And it is important for them to understand that even Newfoundland Resort Limited protected their interest during the time of the sale. And a copy letter, Your Honor, dated the 9th of November 1967, addressed to the decedent, which is Mr. Jobson, and a copy of which was also given to his attorney was attested in court. So when persons are saying there's not sufficient information to show that Newfoundland Resort Limited purchases this property within the summary of judgment, no judge would have put their career or pervert the law in the manner in which they ruled.
And also, Lady Mitchell, to make it clear for those who don't understand, when you go to court and you say that you are Marcel Mitchell, you can't just say it. You have to be, the court is an institution of evidence. So this Newfoundland Resort Limited would have to present documents that they are in fact registered. And it's very sad when Jamaicans in the comment section are going to say these things. You make people in the world laugh at us like a beard done sleeve here, you know? And you guys need to stop it. We must put pressure to bear on both political organizations that they do the right thing and provide a livable wage, provide the environment where manufacturers can manufacture goods, provide employment, create that environment where private sector can provide livable wage for our people to earn so that they can have dignity, a sense of self, a sense of place, right? it does us no good to say I am PNP, I am GLP, and destroy ourselves. Right? So we need to stop it, because you are telling the world that we are done. Stop it.
I can answer the question.
1 second. Let me clear something up. Extreme Beauty. In your comment, you said, and I quote, "So why he died in 1980, but sold the land in 1967, at the time of death certificate still in his name. A death certificate cannot have land ownership in their name upon death. Second of all, after the 1967, there was court proceeding that proceeded in the 70s in regards to the property. And if Mr. Jobson had a knowledge, he should have rendered his position in that case that was ongoing throughout the 70s, which he never did. Yes, I do agree that the gentleman died in 1980, but he should have made his position in the case in the 70s, in which the same managing principal person for New Family Resort Limited end up suing the company that they also worked for and stated that they were promised to purchase the land. So it's impossible for a death certificate to have land ownership."
Yeah, can I respond to the clipping where Judge did play earlier? Although
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. I have the Prime Minister's one to play.
Exactly. I've been wanting to respond to. Thank you so much, Judge. All right, what it is sad to say that the particular person who speak is a learned person and speak in such a manner that him convicting himself to say the state is aiding and abetting crime against humanity. Because when you are frustrating someone to access their investment, that is a crime against humanity. And he came out and said, listen, we are trying, and what they have been doing is totally illegal. And it is inhumane in itself, because what it is, they are acting prejudice against a particular group of investors. You understand? And the state must not do that. The state must be neutral. And let me just even explain and go further. The police, when we deal with human rights, not locally, lonely, over globally, what it is, we assess where the police come into play and them do wrong. Is there abuse? You see, bruises on the person and all that. Because the police have a right now, because the police get the authority now to give assistance based on the court order. And the Supreme Court is the highest court of the land. And the police duty under the Jamaica Conservative Force Act is activated. The police now can go into property based on there is an alleged, because the police have the right now, the team person, and to find out who they are dealing with, to assess the situation, to help with the situation. So if the police would keep them over 24 hours, the police would have breached. If the police would beat them, the police would have breached. The police now can use their discretion to say, listen to me now, based on the circumstance, we can hold person for questioning to de-escalate the situation, than leave them there and the matter escalate. You understand? So when we analyze it, we can't see the human rights violation from the Jamaica Conservative Force. We don't more commend them based on what has been happening. To say police going to a shootout. They have done something to de-escalate the situation. So from that point, unless now, the next thing, when you have physical property, when somebody own a title, they are the title owner, and you build a concrete and you can move it, that concrete structure become theirs. You can move all the little things inside. And if the owner doesn't want the concrete structure, they can now tear it down once the court give an order for recovery of property. Them can tear it down and show it off, like how them can show off your stuff. You understand what I'm saying? So no, when people are looking at it, no recovery, and when people are being stubborn, I go, look, people are show people things out. But it happened in America, it happened globally. But what happened, the squatting situation, and people really squat. People go occupy people rented place, so them things get short on the street. So you know, the property being torn down, house being torn down. because people with them don't have that squatting problem like Jamaica. But Jamaica escalated a bit further. It's not just close them having at the place, them building on the place. So you also building being tear down. So until someone can tell me if they're being beaten, people have been held outside at the time of the law, them supposed to describe time they're supposed to be held, and all of these things, then we can say the human right violation kick in. But we can't say what is happening now, the human rights violation is from the government end. They are exploiting these people ignorance and misleading these people to false hope. So the state is the one who is committing the human rights violation. From our end, how we seeing it now?
If I may add to this, Judge.
Yes, legal girl, go ahead.
Prior to the amendment of the Bail Act, the police didn't have the power to detain you with pre-charge, you know. It is now after the amendment of our Bail Act that the police now has a pre-charge detention. So if we speak about human rights, we're talking about the powers of the government of the police being extended prior to this action. So they had the authority to detain somebody pre-charge.
For 72 hours.
Well, even before, no, that is, yeah, right. So pre-charge, so you have a pre-charge detention.
Yeah, legal girl, the pre-charge time is 72 hours. If they cannot hold you longer than 72 hours without a charge.
All right. Let me see if Black Voice can speak to us now. Black Voice, can you unmute?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Really interesting topic today. So my views might be different from everybody else's view. I have a different perspective on life. And my opinion is that a lot of us, because of the trauma coming from slavery, we have a certain mindset. So someone coming or seeing things outside the box or outside of the norm that slavery has brought down on us may seem weird. Now, the thing is, slavery, some person might see it as the atrocity that did some long donkey years ago, but slavery still exists today, and the traumas of slavery still exist today, and the consequences of slavery still exist today. So much so that a lot of our most vulnerable Jamaicans still can't afford lands on the open market. And this is simply because we are coming from slavery. And a lot of persons have different views, as I said, and that is okay. So I'm not trying to, get back at the enslavers so much, but what I'm advocating for is that there are a lot of lands in Jamaica that are not being used, and there are persons who don't have a place to call home. Why have all these lands that are available idle and persons are out there without a place to call home? The action of demolishing persons' home is not just in Trelawney, it is happening in St. Thomas as well. And these are descendants of the enslaved people. These people, from my perspective, should be given the right to live on these lands, the right to live on lands unoccupied. And one of the reasons why I would say descendants of the enslaved should get the right to live on lands is that the atrocities that was done to our ancestors, and it still live on in us today. Some persons are still having traumas from that. It is here, we see the skin bleaching, it is still here. Many persons may say it's long gone, long time ago, but no, the consequences are still here. And so I say these lands that are left idle should be given to the descendants of slavery. We have not gotten any payment from the slave masters or the descendants of the slave masters to help, because we, our ancestors, helped build their country. And our country is a developing country. And so in order for our country to be developed, we need to help the most vulnerable of our society, the descendants of the enslaved. And I rest my case there. Thank you, sir.
Is there anybody who'd like to address Black Voice? Legal Bird?
No, please.
Okay.
I am a descendant of enslaved. But you don't see me out there trying to capture or acquire land that is privately held by other Jamaicans. My responsibility as a human being is that the sweat of my brow I shall eat bread. It means that I should go out there and work.
Allow this.
I just want to clarify that I don't mean that persons should go ahead and take persons' land. That's not what I mean. I'm speaking about the lands that are out there. Government lands are crown lands. So crown lands are what I'm speaking towards. I don't agree with persons going out and taking persons' private land. Just to be clear.
About 40% of the land mass that exists here is crown land. Not because it is crown land means that you're supposed to just give it away, because we have national development, right? We have to have infrastructural development. It makes no sense to give away it, then you have to go purchase it back. You have to lick down these houses and relocate people. A developing country must have a land bank. Yes, after independence, right, the government was at the time was given the crown lands to be held in an asset, in a trust on behalf of the people. And yes, as Jamaicans, we have the ability, right, to write to the what's his name again? The oh God, I don't remember the name. The name of the person that is responsible for the crown lands, right? But we can write to make an offer for purchase. We can also write to make an offer for a lease. But at the end of the day, it's still the responsibility of the government to foresee the future, to say, hey, lands that are located in this area cannot be sold or leased because it is in the interest of national development. When you give away all of those lands to the minority, how is that fair to the majority? What is the constitutionality of it to say, yes, they deserve it more because they are descendants of slaves, but I am also a descendant of slaves. Why is it that I am not more entitled to it?
I said the descendants of the enslaved. I didn't marginalize and say just the most vulnerable.
Yeah,
so
but I am a descendant of slaves.
Even you, of course.
But so you're going to use the most vulnerable and say they deserve it more than I do?
Sorry, I'm saying all the descendants of the enslaved, in fact, every human being born on this earth have the right to have somewhere decent to live. No amount of money should prevent persons from living on lands, because if you are born here and you don't have any money, it is in your right to live on earth. You can't live up in the air. So
unfortunately, that's not how our society works. That's not how the world works.
The mere
right?
fact,
I think that's an illusion. Actually.
Give me a chance, please.
But you interrupted me though. But go ahead.
I'm sorry, but give me a chance. The mere fact that a person don't have money to acquire land should not be a reason to marginalize them and say they are not deserving of somewhere to live.
May I ask Black Voice a question in regards to her statement?
Black Voice and trial, you know.
No.
Yes, Commission of Lands it is actually.
Yes.
Commission of Lands, yeah.
Good evening, madam. Do you drive?
Black Voice, you can unmute, Madam Mitchell.
Do you drive a car?
Yes, I drive.
Okay. So let's say that you're driving your vehicle and you run out of gas and you need petroleum. Is it the right of the gas station to give you the petroleum because you're running out of gas?
All right, let me answer that. So you can't compare two different scenarios because that would be a fallacy. So you can't compare getting gas to the right to live. These are two different issues. We were born on this earth. Money did not carry us here. So the mere fact that money did not bring us on earth, it is our right. It is God's right. God gave us this right. God created us on earth to live on earth without having to pay to live on earth. If it is the other things that are not necessary for life, like gas is not really a need per se, it is a want. So,
but the same can be said for land
All right,
ownership.
I'm going to say this to Black Voice.
Hold
I
on,
understand
leave her
where you're
alone.
coming from.
Stop,
minute, please.
guys. Please, let me finish. The same thing can be said for land ownership. The same thing. It is not a God-given right for you to be inherently have the 5 basic needs, because there's many persons out there without the 5 basic needs. So when it comes to the issue at hand, the question I asked you, it was a valid question because you fall right directly into the answer. It is a choice that person takes. And it's the same thing with land ownership. When it's dealing with the private entity versus the government entity, they're two separate but never equal. So if the government wants to take my land that I inherited in the greater good, I cannot say to the government, you can't take my land because I inherited, because it is for the greater good. But this specific situation that is being discussed is exclusive equity to a private entity.
That's right. But Miss Marcia, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the government should take private lands and give it to people. What I'm merely saying is that there's so much land on earth. All the human beings on earth cannot occupy all the spaces, all the lands that are there on earth. So I'm saying, instead of marginalizing persons, the persons who cannot afford like a $10 million land, because that is like the average price for land on the MLS system, persons who are born in this country, they should not be barred from being able to live on the land that they were born in just because they can't afford. They can't come up with $10 million, or they don't qualify for an NHT loan or grant, or because they can't couple up with all their siblings to purchase a land. That's what I'm merely saying.
Can you explain the $10 million MLS that you just quoted? That one flew past me. I don't understand it.
She's saying that the minimum.
I'm just saying, for an example, when you look at the MLS system, majority of the lands that are listed there, the average Jamaican, even the teachers, cannot afford some of these lands, because when you, as one land comes out, it is almost everybody attack that land, and as you send out your offers to get a land, it's already under offer, under contract, and there is a lot of other things with them which I won't get into, but I'm saying it's not that easy for the average person to just go through the legal system and purchase a land. That's what I'm saying. And I'm also adding, please give me a chance, I'm also adding that the mere fact that slavery, we are coming out of slavery, some of that trauma coming from slavery, some of the consequences of slavery is why majority of our Jamaican brothers and sisters are in poverty. So in addition, these lands that are called crown lands because the enslaved came and they killed off the early settlers, you know, the Indians that were here and took the land. Unalive, my bad. They took the land illegally from these early settlers. So what I am merely saying is that we were brought here against our will. We were living quite fine in Africa. We were brought here against our will. And now slavery ended, the descendants are here, they need somewhere to live. And merely saying that these lands that are not being occupied should be given to the descendants of the enslaved.
Why is it your right in Africa? Why is it your right in Africa?
Can I get a chance, please?
Descendants of the enslaved, they are entitled.
Give me a chance.
No. Let her land. Respectfully, let her land because she's.
I thought she landed. Okay.
No.
That voice, you have 5 seconds to wrap up so that you can continue. You want to finish what you want?
That is it for me. I just wanted to get it out there. I want to change person's perspective and their narrative on how they look at life, because a lot of us are still mentally enslaved and we will not see going past whatever laws that were written by the enslavers for us. We will never see past that, and we will also not see the need for persons to live just because we already purchased a land and we already worked hard for a land. We should think of the needs of others before we think of ourselves. I will just land right there.
All right. I want to say this, Black Voice. I agree with you that our enslavers were enriched on the backs of our ancestors' labor. I will also say to you that the institution of white supremacy could not collect slaves from Africa if they were not given by our own ancestors. A part of the issue that we don't like to speak about is we grab our own skin color and fling it to the white man. That's one. Number two, yes, for that atrocity, repatriation, there is a claim for that. That is going to take time. What do we do in the interim? What you're suggesting is not sustainable and it will cause chaos.
Dangerous.
Because let me tell you the chaos that it will cause. What are you going to do?
Do we have a radio in the back? Do we have a radio in the back there making some noise?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me read.
Turn it down first.
Yes. So I'm saying this now. If we should exercise or execute your logic, how are we going to compensate people who would have already purchased land? Because a human being right, where most of us are descendants of our ancestors were enslaved. Yeah, so we are descendants. How are you going to treat fairly with the bunch of us who have purchased property and who is currently paying for property? Because those other persons don't have their right, don't supersede mine, you know. That is the financial burden that is going to break the back of any government if they should try to open the can of worm that you want them to open. So whilst your point is valid, it cannot be taken because the written record is there for the bad transfer of wealth from the labor of our ancestors to the enslavers. The way you want us to do it, it will not be sustainable. So that's the end game. When monies come from repatriation, if that ever happen, then we can have a separate discussion when that time comes. Maybe you and I eyes will be closed by that time. But what you're saying now, it's not a workable solution. We have to entertain discussions that are workable. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Chevelle. Legal girl, you have a point you'd like to share in this sense, then we take Concord.
I would like to add that while while there may be legal ways of acquiring a property by purchasing, we should also direct our minds to understand that the law still allows for persons who occupy property over the amount of time and within the conditions of the law that allow them to acquire it. However, ownership of property is not the only way that you can occupy property. You can lease. You can lease to buy. You can go into arrangements. We all need to remember that while we have a right to live in Jamaica as descendants of slaves, ownership is not the only way that we can occupy property. We can get an interest in it by leasing.
Thank you very much, legal girl. Now we have Joe. Joe, we'd like to share in our discussion this evening. We're looking at land rights in Jamaica.
Yes, I would like to comment. I guess when it comes to the issue of slavery, I have a concern, and my concern is that yes, slavery existed. Yes, our forefathers were enslaved. The closest person that I know that was closest to slavery was my great-great-grandmother. My great-grandmother, yeah, my great-great-grandmother was born in 1911, right? So I was born in the 80s. So I'm like 4 or 5 generations from that person who was born closer to slavery. Now in 2026, I am a free Black man. I am not controlled. I am not owned. I have the freedom. What our forefathers went through was traumatic. It is like we're playing a victim. We're trying to live on the pain and the suffering for what we have now. Slavery was abolished in 1831, I think, and then there was apprenticeship. Now, in 2026, when we have our freedom, what have you done to elevate yourself as a Black person? So, for example, my great-grandmother, they lived on land in the 60s, which was crown land, which they captured. But coming out of that, the descendants, like myself, my parents, and my brother, none of us, we all have title to our land because our parents insisted that the way forward with education was not to go and capture people land, not to capture people private land. For example, I live in North America. I have to work in the cold, -30, -40. I have land in Jamaica. Are you telling me because I am not on it, somebody has the right to capture my land? And I think we have to put ourselves in the victim. The victim is not only, yes, what happened to these people is unfortunate. And I hear people talk about empathy. But empathy, we should learn to tell people the truth. You cannot go and take people's private land and want to capture. It is not fair to them. And that is the unfair thing in Jamaica. We want to use might to take over people's property. It can't work. And while we say it's only the big man, there are many poor Jamaicans who their fathers, their parents have died, left land for them. And people have gone on there and captured the land. And these people don't have the resources to go to the court. They can't talk because they're intimidated, they're bad up. So I think we should stop. While slavery was bad, and yes, it affected me personally because I didn't have any inheritance. There was no generational wealth passed on to me, unlike the enslavers. But at this point, we have to ensure that we create our own wealth and stop blaming what happened to our ancestors. Stop using it as an excuse. The greatest way for us to elevate as Black people is education. My parents never had a university degree, but they ensured that we went to school and now we're able to help ourselves. We're into own property. We're not there capturing people land and making excuse. So we make excuse for people and they talk about all the poor. And we use these terms to gaslight these people and to keep them in their poverty so the politician can count on them for vote. It's not, people don't put, all you need, is just to be focused, to make simple life-changing decision, and then we will make it. And stop saying slavery. Like we are so far from slavery, hundreds of years, almost 200 years from slavery, and we're blaming that, not discounting it. It was awful, and somebody interjected that, yes, Africans were also instrumental in slavery because they were the ones who sold us into slavery, right? And so that's it. And even on the mother continent, you don't see Africans demanding that they want land. People work for what they want and they get their land. If not, you can't just go and take people's personal property. I wouldn't want anybody to take my land. And that is where I am coming from. And while we empathize, we must be fair. It is not right for you to go and take somebody's land who work hard and invest, make right decision, and you just go and live free. You want to live free for 30 years. You don't want to pay rent, you don't want to pay mark, you just go and capture. What can I say? That is anarchy. While we sympathize and empathize with those people, we have to tell the people the truth. It is not right.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you very much, Joe. You can land right there. We have Sweet Voice, Sweet Lady, join us. Sweet Lady, you want to share your voice with us this evening? Sweet Lady, intend to speak to us, or it was just stopping?
To be fair to Black Voice, if I may judge, she did not advocate for anybody's private land to be taken away. What Black Voice is saying, that because of the unfairness of slavery and our ancestors were not given land when they were declared quote unquote free. Yes, the government of the day should deal with that unfairness and issue land. Yes. And I interjected by saying, yes, there's a legal claim for repatriation, but that is going to take time. So what we do in the meanwhile, in the interim, what do we do, which is a workable solution? We provide an environment where our people can partner with their financial institution and be given access to affordable housing solution. That is workable and it will not cause chaos. And it also promote productivity, and it also promote development. This issue, energy, it allows for unproductivity. It fosters I must be given everything. It fosters lackluster energy amongst our people. So we have to understand that I firmly support repatriation, and it must happen because the wrong done to our ancestors, where they utilize labor without paying for it, that wrong must be paid. The planters were paid. When the crown ended slavery, the plantocracy, the Bakramasa, them were given money to release the slave. They were paid. So the slaves must also be paid. But there's a process. So we have to do something workable in the meantime.
So if I may.
Just give me a chance. Just give me.
You want to say something, Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, I wanted to say the reason why I asked Black Voice the question I asked her is because it had an angle directly linked to what is being discussed here. Because if you, as the person who ran out of gas, went to the gas station, which is involving the company as such gas station, and in the need of getting the gas, you or yourself is entering an agreement. You're entering an agreement to get the gas in the absence of funds. So that agreement would be an oral agreement that you have made a promise to come back to pay for what is being given to you as service. And sometimes we don't look at these small anomalies in the discussions of looking at it is the same thing in Cooper's Pen, in the Newfoundland Resort case, because Mr. Gilbert Jobson entered an agreement with said agent, and by him allotting J. Cecile Abraham to make the decisions for him. He acted in the interest of Mr. Jobson. The company at hand was more learned, as is being stated by Winner, Chevelle, Legal Girl, even Tanko before he left, by having a counsel to guide their interests. And that is the reason why they placed a caveat on the place. And when person keeps stating in there that says, well, he died in 1980, it was never settled. By placing the caveat, that person also asserts their interests in said property. And that caveat cannot just be removed just because I want it to be removed.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mitchell. You land your point there?
I wanted to tell persons so that in the discussion of this, that Mr. Abraham did exercise his duty to Mr. Jobson, who entrusted him in the option of the purchase. And the amount of money has been well documented through different court cases for the original purchase. And even on the 5th of September, Your Honor, 1969, $26,900 was paid to the decedent. The rest of the acreage is what was still end up being in dispute, but the original sale did not change the affirmity of the deal that they made for the property or the acreage of land. But by Newfoundland Resort Limited putting a caveat on the property, they assert their legal interest too. And that falls over a lot of persons' head, because that caveat actually saved that company in another lawsuit.
And Lady Mitchell, another thing that Jamaicans don't like to do, they don't like to make will, right? When you own assets, learn to find a lawyer and draft and perfect a will, right?
But I did want to land one more key point. The proof of the payment that I wrote down my notes, the proof of the payment and the option to purchase directly rectify whether there was a deal or not, whether it's third party through the agent or the intended owner at that time who was under the advisory of the individual who was representing his interests. So that shows continuous possession of the person who bought the land by putting that caveat. And that is why the Attorney General could not just get the property after Mr. Jobson's death. Because no one's property is listed on their death certificate. Unless something has changed.
And there was no will, Miss Mitchell.
And there was no will. Only one child was of legal age. All 20 of them was under the age of 18.
Yeah, it's a cultural problem we have in Jamaica, Mitchell. When we own assets, we don't like to do will. And you'd be surprised where that dunceness comes from. They believe that if they do will, it's going to hasten their eyes closing. I never see such, I don't like hearing nonsense. What may I tell you?
Can I come in here
Yes, we know. Yes, we know. Then we take some Soji.
Slavery was an atrocity, right? Should we have gotten compensation as enslavers? Yes, we should have. And that's a work in progress, as we have seen on the international scene, right? Where it was recognized as the greatest atrocity to human beings, right? But we're not living in a perfect world. It's not perfect. If you look at the Constitution across the rest of the world, it does not give right to people that you automatically born to get a place to live. That's not a right that is written anywhere. As we stand, our Constitution is written, right, not to protect people who illegally capture people's property, but to give rightful ownership to those who have gone through the legal channel of purchase, or whether it was handed down to them by a family member. There's legal channels there, and they are the one that is protected, right? I am saying we can't encourage squatting, and we can't also encourage government to just go ahead and just hand out house, give people. How is that then fair to me or the rest of taxpayers that masses of people, for example, people who have squatted illegally, who have lived free, some of them water free, electricity free for decades, and when the rightful owner takes claim of their property, the taxpayers will now have to fund them. How is that fair to us? And therefore, the government have to take the necessary step to reduce squatting and also put in legislation or mechanism to make people have access to the lands that they have and give them formal titles. But to just go out on a mass exercise of giving away lands for free because you have some crown lands, that's not forward thinking. Forward thinking government have to have land in the bank for national development and infrastructural development.
But we not. The argument would ask, or the question would ask, is the government doing enough to address the land or how?
So for the first time in our governmental history, Bobby Montague, give me a second. Bobby Montague is operating out of the office of the Prime Minister without portfolio for land titling. So we actually have somebody that is focused. We actually have a minister without portfolio acting on behalf of the people to make sure that we reduce the informal settlement and give title to the legal citizens who have acquired this, whether through purchase, hand me down from family, or via adverse possession. Yeah.
Very well. But to regularize people to have title, it means that the government will get more money through the means of taxes. So I think that's
yes. And it also helps with planning. How you go forward in planning communities, right? Because if you're gonna talk about national development and planning for the future, it must involve sustainable communities where you have sewage, water, electricity, everything is mapped, right? Everything.
Yeah, man, I agree with that, but there's one problem that I have with that. One problem, and is that this operation of Minister Montague without portfolio operating out of the, well, let me not go about the technicalities, because I said it already. We need to hear a name of a program, because the public need to be told how is it that you qualify. These matters can't be matters in secret. Yes. So we need to know of the action and what the name of a program is and how is it that I qualify, and how is this program going into the current squatter communities and getting those communities regularized, because some of them they have perfected the legal doctrine of adverse possession. So that program would have gotten that thing done, gotten the necessary documents together so that they can have their title in hand and start to pay property tax. Yes. So the question I'm asking, what is the name of this program to address the illegal activity of squatting?
Yes, so there is actually a release here from JIS on July 10, 2026. And it says the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Growth and Infrastructural Development, Arlene Williams, says the government is steadily advancing the systematic land registration program to advance the vision of having all parcels of land properly registered. So I guess that is the program. You see, they implemented by the National Land Agency. The program assists individuals who have occupied and used land undisturbed for 12 years or more to legally secure their certificate of title.
Good. Let me hear from the Prime Minister in response to the incident happened down by Cooper's Pen.
Number one ministers, we certainly not the member of parliament. I got a call very early in the morning, quite surprised, and immediately we mobilized resources from ADPEP and the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to assist, because technically it was a disaster. Luckily, we were very frugal and responsible in how we use the materials that we were able to respond with. We never use off what we didn't need to use off. So what we got in aid and support and what we bought in stock, we never wasted. We put it down carefully, so that when the next disaster strikes, whether it is hurricane or an untimely relocation and dislocating exercise, we are able to respond to the thing. And we have been able to respond in the humanitarian crisis that has been created. There is a longer term response that is necessary. And as all of you stand here, there are some of you who are occupying land as a matter of word. It was brought to my attention. I had no prior knowledge of it. None of our ministers, certainly not the member of parliament. I got a call very early in the morning, quite surprised, and immediately we mobilized.
Yes, sir. There you go. The Honorable Andrew Olney is responding to the crisis happened down by Cooper's Pen. Actually was handing out one of the houses that you normally give away to the most or the less fortunate. We have Soji. We're going to close after the next few minutes. I have a question I'd like to ask Legal Girl. How do we, after 12 years, apply for adverse possession? So after Soji, take a minute and look at Legal Girl.
All right. You give me a minute, but I just want to say this. I said I just want to say this. I say I empathize and I sympathize with the residents of Cooper's Pen, because I have close tie to that community, because I'm involved in football, and a lot of my former Premier League friends would have come from that community. Yeah. But I just want to say to the people on the outside, the noise on the outside is not what is on the inside. I just want to assure you that of that, Judge. The noise on the outside is not what on the inside. Just letting you guys know that. But I want to say this. Though, on a point of education. So my parents and everybody up here, parents who would have sent them to school, would have wasted their money when it comes to education. And why I say that is that we had 3 learned judges ruling on this case, and all in the same way. And we have people out there who have never stepped into law school for a minute, in their life telling people otherwise. Because I'm saying to you, Judge, tell me that I wasted my educational years. Because if we have 3 judges who would have seen and requested,
not only 3 judges in it, but they are senior judges, and they are also on the appeal.
Actually,
Yes.
it's seven actually.
7. Yeah, 7 total. All right. So let me just finish my point. So what I'm saying today is that if they cannot make a decision and look for what they're looking for, we're in deep trouble. If I'm saying that we would the legal system is a farce. Doesn't make any sense if you understand what I'm saying to you. So for the legal minds who have never stepped in the law school for a minute, out there on the internet spreading propaganda, because I am the judge, I'll be looking for everything, ownership, everything, the right to everything. And I think these learned judges would have passed an exam and have their education background well strapped up. So when we have people from all over the globe, TikTok lawyers, making decisions and saying all this kind of thing, it's kind of funny. But I want to say this, Judge. I want to say this. In my life, before I earned my home, when I look back at the amount of rent I paid, I could have bought 2 houses before I owned my home. I could have bought 2 houses with that rent, but I chose to pay rent. Why? Because I'm a man with pride and a man who stand up and be counted. I work hard to achieve whatever I want. So because of that, I don't want anyone to stand in my face at any time. And we must encourage people to stand up and be counted for. Worse now, we have so many opportunities for people to go out and achieve, but yet still we're holding back each other because we want them to come and beg us. I want to talk down to them. We want to see them rubbing out their handmigger and they kind of drinking all day and having 10, 15 babies with no baby father, getting 10, 15 babies and don't take care of the children. These are the things we promote. We do not promote carefulness, lawfulness, and living a life of love for ourselves, because we have to at some point stop and take a check. If none of us here, Judge, and I can tell you, none of us up here born with a gun spoon in our mouth. Not one. Not single one of us. I can tell that. You understand me? We work hard to achieve what we want. And you're saying to me now, I remember, Judge, my father going on farmer. And when he come back, he back burn up. He back burn up. And imagine him buy a piece of land now, through all that hard work. And move, and when him come back, somebody living on it, and him and them have to go through court. We have to decide what we want, you know. We have to decide if we're going to deal with fairness, and we're going to say, listen, it's hard, it is very hard, what have happened, very, very hard, but at some place, we have to stand with law and order. We have to, because I hear people saying, oh, Judge, give away everything free. When we give these people the lands and the house free, and them decide to them not pay no taxes, what do we do then? I'm trying to figure it out, Judge, because I know that the hospital is free, I know that education is free, I know that we have to pay the police, we have to pay the teachers, we have to pay the nurses, the doctors, we have to pay many people, the public servants. So when we give away everything free, people stop paying. Where do we go from there? The country collapse? Do we allow the country to collapse? We have to think, you know, we have to be honest in our reasoning and don't use our heart to reason. We have to be honest and what do we really want for Jamaica?
Yes.
You understand me? What is it that we want for Jamaica? And I land there, George, I land there, right there.
Thank you very much. I guess most of the time we reason from emotions and not practicality. Legal girl, can you guide us into how we acquire land by adverse possession? Yes, we'd have stayed on the land for the 12 years, but what we need to do as the occupier of the land during that time for us to qualify, is there pre-qualification? Is there something that we have to do? Is there action that we have to take in a sense?
Yes. In order to displace a titled legal owner, the person whose name is on the title, you must, and I will repeat, you must be there for private lands 12 years or more, undisturbed. It is very important that we understand that once the person, the owner for the land, says to us, leave, it breaks that 12 years. So each 12 years must be undisturbed. It
no
beholds
interference.
No interference within a 12-year period.
Okay.
It beholds me to indicate that permission to be on a property will not assist you in adverse possession. So once somebody gave you permission to be there, you cannot then claim adverse possession. Adverse possession must be hostile. You must have taken somebody's property. You must have been using it without their permission and without the owner interrupting you. And guess what? It must be open to the whole world. Everybody must know you as a title owner. You must act like an owner. So that means you tell your neighbors, don't let them go, come over your yard, something. But you must act like an owner. One act is fencing.
Fencing.
Right. So you're asking for the procedure. It is a procedure. Once you have qualified, once in your mind you believe that these criteria are met, you're in a position now that you're on land for the required period, and those other things, you've been there. Nobody has come to you and asked you to leave. You now need an attorney. It is not something you can do on your own because it is an application to the National Land Agency through the referee that you have to now get declarations from neighbors. You have to draft documents. There are things that you have to do in terms of publications at the end of it before your name is placed on the title. So your duty is to ensure that if you're on the property, if you believe that you have the right, if you believe you would succeed, seek legal representation. I will go further to say I advise everybody who is on lands that you're not the title owner. You don't have to go to a lawyer, You can go to a JP. You can have your children do some research and get the knowledge you need so you can arm yourself. If you know that you're there 10 years, guess what you start do? You start put on 2,000, whatever. You start making preparation so that in the 2 years, if the titled owner comes and displaces you, you are ready to leave. You won't fall on your face. You mitigate anything that would happen to you. Because while adverse possession is frowned on by a lot of people, it is a legal way in gaining legal access or ownership to land. So if it can work for you, if you're in the position to acquire land, please seek guidance. I will also say, let us be fair. If you're owner of a land and you have not visited your land in 12 years, in 10 years, in 5 years, if you don't know who is on it or what is happening, please visit your land. The government or the law does allow for you to protect your land. You can go there, you can fence it, you can put up a no trespassing sign, and you can pay up your taxes. You can pay attention to your land in a manner that shows that you have intentions for it. But remember, the land must be in use. This law of adverse possession is to protect land so that it don't just sit there idly. So a squatter has a right, and guess what? The title owner has a right. Do not be caught flat-footed where a squatter will relieve you of your legal property because you're not acting, right? And if you're living on lands right now that you can act, please do so.
Another question to you, legal girl. What would be the cost associated to acquire said land through a lawyer? What just an idea, because we now discover that the land out by Cooper's Hill could not be applicable for adverse possession. Cooper's Pen. Thank you very much for the correction. based on the legal ramifications surrounding it and the whole proceeding, said they could not claim adverse possession. Am I right, legal girl? Based on the legal side of it.
I agree with that, because they would have been disturbed. They would have been on notice that there's a court case. They would have been on notice that there were people asked before them to leave. So, I mean, undisturbed mean you have no idea of anybody. You don't know where the owners are. And but once you have idea that there's a proceedings and the parties have disturbed you in any way, no, they wouldn't have.
So then, legal girl, for one to say in a public office to say there is an adverse possession to protect land user or occupiers, it wouldn't be justified in this case. It wouldn't be applicable in this case, given the fact that there had been interruption throughout the 40 years or whatever amount of years they would have been using or occupying the land. It could not be justified saying that. It couldn't be just.
Based on the court records, no. The titled owner in some way was handling or dealing with the property, whether through the courts or dealing with the government agency for assistance to repossess.
So would it be right for somebody to study law to come on here and to say such a thing in the public domain? Is it for confusion or just to derail? What's the message behind saying such thing as a trained lawyer?
Okay, so I'll speak for me. I would not advise anyone, or I would not incite anyone to break the law. I would advise you what the ambits of the law, what the law allows, and where the specific circumstances require additional information or advice, then you speak to somebody directly. But anyone that advises you to break the law does not care for you. It will come back and bite you. Always try to ensure that you're on the right side. Do not try to put yourself in the position.
Could you repeat that for me, please? Would you repeat that for me again, please, loudly?
It is my position that the best place to put yourself in is on the right side of the law. If anyone advises you to break the law, do not do it. It will come back and get you. Because number of years sometimes of what you believe is in action, maybe there are actions happening that could hurt you, and it will hurt you bad. It will embarrass you, because guess what? If you were not taking that advice, you could have been making preparation to leave. You could have been making preparation to properly acquire it. You could have been seeking legal advice, which would avail you of any disturbance that you are now facing. So my advice is stay on the right side of the law. The law is created as a balance. Find your side and stay there.
Thank you very much, legal girl. We have an MP, member of parliament, goes by the name of Chuck Finley. I'm not sure to which of the constituency is referring to. Sir Chuck Finley.
I represent all 63.
All 63 is
the only MP that represent all 63 constituencies.
Sir Judge, I'm going to run now. You hear?
Thank you very much, Wina, for coming.
And I will say this because there's another misconception out there that the 12-year period for adverse possession was met. That is not true, because the land has been in dispute for a number of years. And once the land is in dispute, the criteria for adverse possession cannot be met.
Cannot be met. Thank you very much for that.
Your Honor, before Chuck come in, allow me to strengthen that argument. In one of the hearings made by Judge Ratty J, it says that the company's possessory title, even prior to 2004 claim being filed, is complete answer, is not to challenge. And it states that Newfoundland Resort Limited has demonstrated that the company's possession of property since 1973. And that meaning like in court documents of continuous litigation. So you
Yes,
can't claim adverse possession if someone is fighting for something and constantly battling in court and putting sign up on their property and everything.
they could not.
No.
Yes. Thank you very much, Miss Michelle. Chuck Finley, my battery is at 15% to go. We're going to close the show.
No problem. I only need 1% of your battery.
Yes, all right.
Right. But I've always said this, Judge, and legal girl and master. I've always said one thing. There are two sets of people on social media here. One set is here to help, and one set is here to exploit. Right? By being here, giving people the information what they need to walk the straight and narrow is helping. Telling people, say, you must broke off your bed foot and go tell people, say, you didn't live up there, is exploitation. Telling people to break the law because you're a lawyer and you might get the job to defend them is exploitation. Plain and simple. Now, this piece of land in question, and I'm gonna I speak of, sorry, Judge, me trying to bring politics to your platform, but I've always speaks of the wickedness of that.
Listen, only don't pull no fireworks this late.
Yes, I want to the fireworks. But during the time when they were legally trying to dispossess this man of his property, I'm talking the government of the day was trying to take. The government at the time wasted, those of us who can remember, wasted nearly $200 million buying a piece of property, what they call Otameni. I don't remember the Otameni scandal.
I've heard that name.
Yes, a piece of land where them buy from one of them friend because the friend business did that go under and then buy the piece of land.
Judge,
that piece of land is almost.
I'm raising an objection, Judge.
Yes.
I am seeing where my learned friend MP Chuck continues to bring matters to do with politics that is going to incite my emotion.
I have no problem. I'm ready for your emotion. Just let me finish.
Withdraw that statement, Chuck Finley.
No, I cannot withdraw facts, Judge.
No, you have to come and where were you from there?
I have been making the rounds. But let me simply say, they purchased that piece of land just across the street. Now, during this time, they were legitimate cars where you could tell the people and say, all right, come off of this man land and go over that piece where we buy. That could have been done at the time, and that's all I'm saying. That could have been done. Then buy it. The piece of water is not far from it. And from they spending nearly 200 million on it, it's sit down, they're not doing anything. So why not just tell the people themselves, come off of the man land, make the man.
Last second, Mr. Chuck. Hold on. Miss Mitchell, you know of any such land purchase for these people?
No, it wasn't purchased for
No,
them.
wasn't purchased. The only land is Danieltown that I'm aware of that the government, from my research.
No, it wasn't purchased for them, Judge. But
No,
it was
that's something different.
by.
What Chuck is referring to, he's saying there is even another option, a greater option,
A greater
more
option.
acreage.
No, it's just one question I have for Chuck. Are you courageous enough to say that both political parties have taken advantage of Jamaican citizens in regards to informal squatting settlement? Or do you have that courage?
Let me tell you why I will not say that. Chavez, let me tell you why I will not say that. Because to date, the only party that has brought legislation to the parliament to distribute land to the Jamaican people is the Jamaica Labour Party. And I'm talking about the Land Utilization Act of 19.
You see why we must be careful, because
MP Chuck and Chevelle, with all due respect, you guys have to remember there is legal counsel with a licensure on the platform, and she do not like to be involved in any political talk. So let's be
we'll continue this another time.
Yes, continue another time.
Yes.
I love you, Chuck, respectfully, but me no want to know this one lose our license.
I will not put legal girl in any jeopardy. As I say, I am here to help, not hinder.
All right.
Judge, can I ask a question to the legal girl?
Hold on a
Chevelle,
second.
leave Chuck alone enough because I'll chuck you.
All right. Joe has a question. Joe, you want to ask legal a question? I'm going to take that final question until we.
Yeah, so my question is, I know for adverse possession on private land is 12 years, and you list the criteria.
12 years continuously.
Continuously.
Yes, continuously.
12 years continuously.
Without interruption.
No interruption.
Undisturbed is the most important part.
Undisturbed, yes. So my question is, for crown land or government land, my understanding is 60 years, right?
Yes.
So is it time for the parliament to look at increasing the adverse possession of the time frame from 12 years to, let's say, 25 years, to double it? Because if for crown land, there is a 60-year undisturbed time frame.
That is a matter of opinion.
One second.
That's a matter of opinion. I believe at the time the law was made, it contemplated what would have been an adequate time for a party to show that they had interest in their property. You know, so I believe in the minds of the lawmakers, they would have balanced it and decided that a private person should show ownership at least once in 12 years. And for crown land, because they own so much land and because, you know, they want to have more advantage than 60 years. So I believe the time is settled. I will say to you now that Mark Golden, I heard in his advance for Parliament in last September, was advocating or putting forward that if elected, he would have reduced the 60 years required for crown land. So your suggestion to increase the 12 to higher, I believe they're looking to go less. So yeah, but that's my opinion. But I believe the law is settled unless in Parliament they go back and change the law. I believe it's fine.
But legal girl, a question to you: what it is saying to us as a people occupying a land? Well, the land is not occupied for 12 years. Nothing up on it. Because I always passed downtown and said those buildings locked up for many years, not being used. Nothing in the city. There's no paint being purchased yearly, no electricity pay on it, no water. All of these things that they would have received some sort of tax.
Judge, that situation is unfair. That is Judge. That is Judge, like. Can I give you just a moment? I have the mic. My comrade brother. Yes. Yes. So
whatever disrespect me like that again in public, sir.
Hold on a second, Chuck.
No, aren't comrade friends?
I don't have my charger.
All right. So what I'm saying in all the circumstances is that fairness is what the majority of us in the society think is balance. Yes. So just as it is unfair for someone because they have the means, they have the money in a development that is specifically earmarked for poor people to go in there and buy up 5, 6, 7 houses and prevent someone who wants somewhere to live, who have made a sacrifice and qualify to get access to those homes, is the same principle to do with land. Why are you gone are the days where you have one person through generational wealth own half of a parish and the land sit down there for how much years not doing nothing productive and people want place to live? That is the principle where it came from, you know.
Yes.
So we need to understand that we need to look at the history where this thing came from the plantocracy, having how much acreage of land lying down, not doing anything with it, and poor people need somewhere to live.
Again, Chevelle, let me back the mic.
All right, we have 11 minutes now, Chuck. I want some question to direct to legal girl from the comments.
From the chat. All right, just beg you 1 minute.
Can you please stay also, MP Chuck, for your input on these questions?
All right, no problem. But I will invite Chevelle that one of these days, maybe even after we're done here, we can go over to Maya and we have the discussion that I would love to have with you, because I like to reason with people who can actually put a statement together. Yeah, you so like one of them.
MP Chuck, time
This
is
is the
going.
longest 1 minute.
All right, sorry, no, my problem. Let's skip it. Travel, when we're done, we are gonna meet over my platform and we have the discussion. But
But
let's
he
finish
might
up here
seek
first.
he might seek an
Yes.
adverse protection instead of possession.
No problem. All right, let's get to the questions from the audience.
Though I
Yes,
walk
thank you
in
very
the
much.
valley of the shadow of death.
By the way, do you agree to that, Travel?
Well, not tonight, respectfully. I have no problem coming. Just inbox me. Share your live when you're going to live another day outside of now, and I will gladly come there, because I always have time for any Jamaican who is politically active. Not even if you share a different political ideology from myself, because you are part of
No problem, sir. Judge, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, MP Chuck. All right, so we are now opening the floor for those who want to ask questions of the legal mind this evening. That is Legal Girl. She's here lending us her valuable time to address the situation at hand. Help us to learn the legal way. And if it is that I'm not sure if I am able to do this, yes, if I'm able to do this to, if you want her to retain her services, she's there. You can inbox her. You can get along. You can reach out.
Yes, Judge, you are able to do it, but she can't. But you are able to do it.
Thank you so much.
And she's deserving. She's very deserving. Very deserving.
Very diligent lady. I've listened to her. I was introduced, and she's now here with us, sharing with us.
Right.
Not many lawyers would.
I was just about to point that out.
Come and share with us freely, giving us this kind of information. It shows that she's selfless and she's giving up for herself, serving, because the position is about really serving. You're here for the first time, you're not yet following me. Click the follow button, give me a follow. You can also send your heart me to register for the live. It's gone down now from 31. And definitely we can continue this program Monday evening at 8 o'clock. So I go live Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Sometimes I'm absent because of other engagements, but I try my best to be here.
Yes, and
Hold on
say
a
that
second.
you're
Let's
coming
answer
from
the
TikTok, Judge.
questions, Chevelle. Let's get to the meat of the matter, because it's an interactive program and he always is very strict on his cutoff because he has other engagement.
Okay.
One of the questions inside of the comment was originally from Black Voice, and I quote, "Can we advocate for the number of years to own crown land be less?" And I quote. Can you answer that one for us, Legal Girl?
I believe in my last response, I believe I addressed that to say the law, I believe at the time, weighed it and they decided the 60-year was adequate. The PNP Mark Golden had said when in his bid for office in September that is something he would have done if he was made Prime Minister of Jamaica. So yes, I believe that their legal minds thinking of it, but it is something for the lawmakers to do.
Let me add something to that. It is not necessary. I don't think it should be done, because the government of any country must have a land bank. They must have it. Government can't give away our land. Government needs lands for development. The government must have a land bank. So Mark Golden, in his bid for office, offering to reduce the rate to 25 years. That will run the government land bank in a couple of years.
Bro, you can't help yourself.
Let us not take it here now.
The next question is from username Lee Lennons or Lions, and I quote, "Can you explain the adjuncts process? Actually, my area is on the list of NLA," and I quote.
All right. That is another way which the government is using to regularize its system. So yes, if he's on it, that means they're using the methods of acquiring, of allowing persons to legally own property. But that's something he knows what it is. If he's there, if he's living close, he would be told that it's a way of getting persons to own the land. All right? It's a systematical approach to getting persons to own land.
1 second. Let me see, because I had to screenshot a lot of these.
Master, La Rosa keep is asking this question.
Yes, I was going to get to hers. La Rosa, do you want to come up and ask one of your questions? Because that's the next question I was going to ask.
No, it's the same, I think it's the same one. She just keep repeating. So I just want.
That's the one. La Rosa's username La Rosa, and I quote: "If you, as the owner, fence your property or build a wall and go away, can anyone claim adverse?" And I quote.
Yes, remember that even if you fence it and you put a sign, yes, you can now come and say that, yes, there was a sign. But remember that the best way to have somebody not squat is to have somebody visit your property. Yes. To ask them to leave. I mean, you could have, you would have your wall and you would have your no trespass sign, and those are good and adequate, However, if a person now stays there and you come, then you'll have to do a court proceeding. Then, you'd have to prove that the sign was there. You'd have to prove that you were you're dealing with the land in a manner that show that you still want the property. So please do the most. Don't do the least of protecting your property. These are things that are very valuable to us. So let us make sure we do all that we can do. I noticed somebody else asked that the number of years should be increased because...
There's one question before that one, legal girl. The next question, and we want to be fair to the person who asked the questions first. Username, Mali Malvina, and I quote, "What is the apprehensions with Jamaicans making will?" And I quote. That's one of my friends.
It's coming from a Gozum.
And this is legal girls' time.
I'm sorry.
Right. I believe a lot of people are reluctant to make a will because they believe if they do, then their demise is imminent. But as an attorney, I would like to advocate for persons to make a will. If you have property...
Sorry about that.
If you have property, make a will. If you have children that you may predecease, if you have a wife, if you got married, make a will. Make a will because it makes life easier. You understand what it is like in a court when other persons have to decide how to divide your property. A will